Welcome back, everyone, to the Squared Circle podcast. Andy here. Joining me, as always, is my main man. He is the co-host of UKPW, head commentator, is the manager extraordinaire, Kieran Cross. It is Stefan Bennett. Stefan, welcome back to TSC. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, fantastic, Andy. I'm really glad we've got this coming up tonight. We've got the opportunity to do something else that I'm invested in, video games. I'm so excited.
Hey, we're wrestling fans, right? Video games and wrestling, it's a joint relationship. And so welcoming now is one of the developers of a really intriguing concept, and one that I'm looking forward to hearing more about. He is the developer of Main Event Wrestling Manager. It's James. James, how you doing, my friend?
Hi. Thanks for having me on, guys. Cheers, Andy. Cheers. Do I call you Stefan or do I call you Kieran?
You can call me Stefan. You can call me Kieran. We'll see which personality comes out.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Cheers.
No, it's our pleasure to have you on. Just going back to what you call Kieran, Stefan, I generally call him Sir. He's about 5 foot taller than I am. Not saying that I'm only 2 foot, but I'm short. That
Okay. I'm a felt tall guy myself, mine. So we'll have to see about
that. There we go.
Now, Main Event Wrestling Manager it obviously does what it says on the tin. It's a wrestling management simulation game. But where is the inspiration for it come from? Tell us a bit about what this is all about.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, as you guys said, wrestling and games go hand in hand. With me, I've been a fan since WWF No Mercy, a bit of SmackDown Just Bring It, and then when you started getting games involved like SmackDown versus Raw, it first brought in the general manager mode. I was hooked. Now, I love a good strategy game. I love RTSs and colony builders and all this kind of stuff. So when I found GM mode, but before then, I was the kind of guy to go on like SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, and I'd be sat in my room with my controller going, and oh my God, here comes The Rock, he's just interfered in the match. And, I would play out these storylines in my head. So having the ability to actually like build those storylines and build that universe inside of a game, and then having the extra sort of push of micromanaging like budgets and schedules and everything like that. It was a massive thing for me. I sunk so many hours into the original SmackDown versus Raw when it brought in that mode. So then obviously going a bit further down the line, then you had some other iterations of it, and then it went quiet for a long time. And obviously you had projects come out like Total Extreme Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Sim, and obviously to name a few of those anyway. And besides those kind of really text heavy games, I felt like there was something lacking in the market for me, and it was kind of like that sort of joint, that balance between something that's a sandbox, something you can build the universe yourself and explore that universe, and then something that's visually engaging and something that's really sort of keeps you on the edge of your seat and makes you sort of really excited to just continue progressing in it. So I started developing an idea for Main Event, and it was something that really just sort of started off as a passion project. And I think it was about 8 months. Hello, dog. Sorry. Sorry, my dog just walked in the room.
That's fine.
Maybe about 6 to 8 months in development. SmackDown, WWE 2K22's GM mode was teased. It was just like slightly announced, like there was a rumor of it and it got like hit off, and I kind of went, So, but yeah, like I think the initial like inspiration for me was that like idea of that sandbox into the wrestling world, and being able to actually create your own brand and compete for ratings and stuff like that. Just that was really cool to me, being able to like have that full control.
So you've mentioned some of the other ones there. I mean, we'll touch on the WWE lineage in a second, because there's so many conversations you can go down about Just Bring It and No Mercy, possibly the two greatest wrestling games.
And just putting it out there as well. Sorry, Andy, just putting it out there. The as much as it was welcomed to have GM mode back in WWE 2K22, it absolutely sucks. Like it's too
Oh,
restrictive.
yeah.
And that is the problem. See, so basically, James, what he described is what all of us were like in our bedrooms or with our friends, loading up the PS2 or the Xbox, playing these WWE games, and like, you know, and wanting to book storylines and things like that. That is essentially what we do. Because it happened, it started off with Hasbro figures, and then it went to Jack's figures, and then it
That's exactly it. Yeah,
it's exactly how it
it.
plays out.
I used to
So,
be there. I used to be
yeah.
with my little camera, filming. It's
Yeah.
funny you say that. I used to be with my little camera, and I would film little stop motion things of my own stories.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah.
Fantastic.
But if you've still got some of those, you should release them on YouTube. There'd be
Oh God, no. Oh God, no, definitely not. But no, exactly what Stefan said. I'll be honest. Some people have started going more towards it, but I'm still very much in the idea that unfortunately, they've tried to refine the core basics of GM mode, and by doing that, they've kind of lost a lot of the spark that the original general manager mode had. So like, don't get me wrong, what works does work. But for instance, there's one thing that I believe it was SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 had a storyline writer that you could buy. So like you would buy a storyline writer and you'd basically be able to unlock your storylines. And that was an awesome idea. And that's funnily enough, that's actually one that I may or may not be, taking inspiration from in one of my features for main event, because they didn't have it. They didn't bother having any of that kind of idea in the latest iteration of GM mode. And it's also something that is kind of lacking, I find, in other games. That might be a bit of a hot take for some people, but I feel like having that kind of, not necessarily having to create every single storyline yourself, but being able to essentially hire a writer, I think like that's quite a cool little idea to have there as well.
It's a bit like the Fighting Spirit game on PS4.
Yes.
You buy the GM mode, and then you can do it that way as well, can't you? That's an intriguing. I get lost in that game, so
it's not one I've played much of. I've heard it, and obviously I've done a little bit of research into it, but I've not really played much of it. I mean, is it any good? Is it decent?
It's good. It's very clunky. So if you think the WWE GM modes are clunky, then try playing Fighting Spirit, because it's even worse.
Okay.
It's kind of what you expect, though. The old 8-bit characters and stuff coming down, and the GM of it is exactly the same, which it brings us to an interesting kind of area, because you've mentioned the predecessors of TEW and PW Remastered, etc., being text-based. Yours is very much visually stimulating. Is that because you wanted to change the mold in terms of what these games look like and give it a more higher 5-star appeal and visualization?
Well, firstly, thanks. I appreciate that. But I guess it was the one thing that kind of gets me now. I do come from a design background, so I'm very much a sucker for a good user interface. Anything that can like keep my attention and it looks clean, it looks nice. It's just something like that. It just strikes something up inside me. So unfortunately, like I wanted to enjoy other like games like this so much, but the problem that they face, and I don't know whether it's because of maybe lack of design skills, or maybe it's because there's just so much information to cram in, but because of that, all I can do is really just say that some of these just are lacking in that graphical interface section. So as I said, it could probably just be because there's so much stuff to cram in, but what I've tried to do is modernize that look and that feel, bring it into the 21st century, so it doesn't look like it runs on Microsoft, like Windows XP, and just stuff like that. Because I do feel that we are hitting the period now where people want something that they can jump into. They don't have to scroll through loads of text to find out how to do a basic thing. The one thing that I've sort of tried to do with Main Event is I like the idea of having a game which, quite like the original GM modes, is very easy to pick up and get into. So you can start off, you can create promotion, start hiring talent, booking matches within like 10 minutes. So that's great. You can start playing it off the bat. But then if you want to delve a bit further into it, if you want to start looking into, storyline writers and brand deals and how, statistics stack up against other things and start looking into that, you can definitely go into it. I want the whole kind of like easy to learn, difficult to master aspect. And I feel like being able to sort of give people a little bit of that on the basis, so like allowing the user interface and the menus to be a lot more simplified on at first is an easier way to introduce people into that simple side. And then when they start going, well, I actually want to know how to, I want to look at this title and I want to see how I can increase the value of this title. I want to look at my target audiences and see how I can tweak my matches to appease an ultra violent audience. And they can go in and they can do that, and then that's when you'll start to see the real meat behind the curtain, so to speak.
I love that concept of being able to have, as you said, easy to learn, difficult to master. I love that. It's almost catering for people who want to sort of, if they just want to have just a little bit of fun and of the basis of it, they've got that. But if they really want to learn and delve into, more of what it's like, the hardcore side of running a promotion, booking shows, every minor detail, they've got the option to learn how to do that. And I think that's a fantastic concept. I really do. That's really exciting.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's something that I've definitely tried to do. So like for instance, there's an entire back office which is when you first go onto your main promotion within the game, there's actually just one little section which says office. But then once you click into that, you have the full you have access to talent scouting, developmental training, and then within all that is obviously things like, so for instance, developmental training is actually buying and choosing areas where you want that to be, where you want your development centers to sort of start off, how tough you want the training, keeping an eye on your trainees, seeing what you can do in regards to like building up their characters. It all allows you to sort of trickle down into the more nitty gritty side of it, whilst, you can still just go up and cover the umbrella of it.
It really is like being a Jedi Padawan to a Jedi Master, isn't it? By the time you work through the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Juggling, end
yeah, exactly. That's the plan. Like the whole idea is, go in, you can create a promotion and go, cool, I've been doing pretty well. I've been earning like a few £100 or dollars doing these little shows. I've got a few of my little guys go in, and then you have someone who's been playing the game for a bit longer go, yeah, but have you tried doing this brand deal, or have you got any developmental guys yet? Because they cost less, which means that you can make more of a profit on your shows, and that means you can buy. And like there's a whole like hierarchy of what's the word? I would say there's a hierarchy of like the niche sectors of it. So I'm planning on having people who the idea is I want like there's got to be a set community of people who really like look into the developmental sector. Get these little guys off the street and train them up, and then make them really cheap but really loyal, really good, high ranking people who they can like sell out to other shows and stuff. And I want there to be people who are experts in target audiences, experts in making money and making fans and social media and all this kind of stuff. And all of those people can be their own little subgenres of the game.
I'm really fascinated to know, how do you develop this? I mean, do you go to various promotions and speak to the bookers and the CEOs and stuff and go, how does it work? Or is this, this is the brain, it's just research. How do you first start this development phase?
So I've previously got a bit of wrestling experience myself. Unfortunately, I did have to stop. I almost broke my neck twice. Right. So that put me out of action. But obviously down the line, I've developed a few contacts within the wrestling community. I know quite a few people who have gone on to develop wrestling schools and develop promotions, and also people who have made their way up to you know, the likes of WWE, the likes of Impact and stuff like that, you know. So there comes sort of a mix of that previous experience, being able to sort of like speak to the people. I've been quite lucky in the way that when I started off this project, I took the information that I knew, and I took the previous, you know, the previous research from games like WWE, from games like TEW and EWR. You know, so I took everything that they had, tried to refine it, tried to sort of come up with some problems that I had playing these games, and then also speak to these people who I know. Once social media started with us, you know, I was able to contact people with, you know, around the world, and sort of ask, okay, so how do you run your promotion? So, you know, I've spoken to like the small family friendly, you know, carnival shows, all the way up to, you know, Lee McDeer at Progress and TNT, and then obviously speaking to the guys at CCW in America, and just all across the board, you know. So it's been a lot of information to take in, and it's just been a lot of reflection and back to the drawing board. Okay, so this isn't how it actually works. This is how we should do it. This is how we can make that more playful. This is how, you know, it's been a long process.
What a journey to go on. I mean,
Definitely.
what an absolute journey, and what an honor it is to kind of put this out and for people to pick it up and play it and realize from hearing you how much work you put into it. Because, you know, I don't know the first thing about developing a game. I can develop a podcast, but, you know, the first thing about developing a game, no idea. And in fairness, I get lost. And Stefan will tell you, I was booking TEW for doing a thing for the TSC, and I've got absolutely lost because it is so detailed and you don't know. So the being able to start as an apprentice and then work your way up to an expert, it's a brilliant thing for a novice person to pick up.
One thing I'm liking as well from the stuff that you have shared on social media already, some of the screenshots, and I'm looking at like the match cards that are set up, and I'm recognizing faces of people I know personally, and I'm thinking, oh, that's cool. So when it comes to talent, do you reach out to the talent individually? Do you just speak to the people that run the promotions and ask for permission to include them? How do you go about getting the inclusion of the talent, etc.? And is it going to be more to begin with, like more British based and then build from there, or is it just going to be like globally from the outset?
So basically, when I first started off, I had the initial idea of, okay, so I want to make it completely user-based, user-generated content. So I wanted to have the initial idea that people can go in, they can upload their own rosters and stuff like that. Honestly, it gets rid of a legal issue for me. If it's user-generated content, there's not really a lot of copyright involved with that. So people can have WWE rosters, AEW rosters, whatever they want. But so I want to just have like a few sort of random generated people involved. But I was like, you know what? To be fair, British wrestling hasn't had its chance in the spotlight when it comes to the video game world. We never have. So I came up with the idea of, okay, I have somewhat of knowledge of the British, and obviously myself, I'm Welsh, so you know the Welsh wrestling world as well. So I wanted to include as many people from that as I possibly can, and as the project has grown, that has also grown as well. The way that I've planned development the way I did plan development until very recently was it's going to be region based. So the initial release of the game, early access of the game, will be British wrestling based. So not necessarily only on British wrestling, but your main first region that you can select is to start off in Britain. And that's not saying that people can't go in and create their own regions. So, you know, someone can make their own region for America, Europe, Mexico, Russia, you know, anything of, you know, Japan, anything like that. But the base main event game will have a largely British-based talent. But we do also have, obviously, you know, people from Europe, people from America, people from Japan involved as well. And these people, based on where, so when you first start off, obviously, you know, you'll start off in the United Kingdom when you play the game, you realize that these specific people, they will have special, you know, they'll have a fee within their contract signing. So, in order to actually bring these people over for shows or to sign them over to your show, you'll need to pay like a travel fee for them to basically bring them in from America to your region. That was until very recently. I'm not sure if you guys have heard the news with Indie Pro 22.
Yeah, it's closed down, unfortunately, hasn't it?
Yes.
And they merged in with you.
Yeah. So obviously I'm happy to talk a bit more about that in a bit, but essentially because of what's happened with Indie Pro 2022, we have been very once again very lucky. James West at Valdrix Games is an incredibly hard worker, but because of what's happened with them, they decided to choose Main Event as their sort of predecessor. So not predecessor, is what's the next one in the line? Processor? Successor. Something.
Successor.
So yeah, we'll call it a successor. But they've decided to choose us as the ones who can be responsible for their database. So because of that, we now have a very large American database. So that, and obviously being British guy, I don't have a lot of contacts in America. So being able to have that initial data from the start, from the get-go, means that hopefully, and there's a big hopefully, when we do start early access or at least the full release, we can have the those regions being either Britain or America, and having those regional like differences happen each way. So I guess to answer your question, we are looking at mainly focusing on the British side of things, especially up until that release date. But we are looking to, once the game does release, we'll be looking to then establish more data within the other territories as well, and being able to sort of bring that in with something like free DLC, free expansion packs, and just being able to push that out as far as we possibly can.
I mean, you've got the power of the mods as well, which we know with previous games that we mentioned, like TW, etc. The mods are the ones that basically keep it alive. They're always releasing mods where you get the latest changes in rosters and keeping things updated. So that is also a fantastic thing to have as well available. As you said, if people want to use AEW, WWE, Impact, etc., mods usually they live for things like this. So that's also a great thing to have as well.
Yeah, definitely. One thing about mods that I found was usually with these games, they have I'm not sure if you know much about the modding community, but because of the format of how these games are made, it's almost a bit restrictive in how you can make the mods for it. Like, you specifically have to go out and find these mods, so it makes it quite difficult or time consuming. So the one thing that I want to do from the get-go is I wanted to be able to introduce mods as early as possible. That was actually one of the main reasons why I've gone for a Steam release, is because instead of having to go onto a certain website to find mods for these games, the Steam Workshop provides seamless integration with mods. Just click a little plus button and it's on the game instantly. But as well as that, I've tried to make it as mod friendly as possible. So rosters, promotions, companies, broadcasting brands, all of these areas are completely moddable. So I mean, the one thing that I'm obviously doing is we have broadcasting deals. So we're currently in talks with a few streaming services and a few companies who can handle that. But if you want to be able to have your show on BBC One, you can go in and add a mod for BBC One, who will then contact you and say, we want to host this next pay-per-view on BBC One. So I want to be able to obviously have all that. Plus, anyone can open up Google Sheets and create a full CSV of your fantasy thing, and it'll flow seamlessly into the game. So you don't have to mess around with like JSON editors or any specific kinds of data. It's literally, you can open up a spreadsheet, which I'm not sure about you guys, but fantasy bookers, we love our spreadsheets. So being able to have a full-blown spreadsheet with all that data and then just importing in the game, press import and it's all there for you. It's just that's something that I really wanted to do.
That's incredible. And I'll be making sure that for my first pay-per-view live on BBC One, we'll have a TV license on a pole man.
Yes, definitely,
How's
definitely.
Yeah.
All I've got in my head at the moment is Strictly Come Wrestling on a Saturday evening at 7:45.
That's it.
Wrestling,
That's
yes.
it. Strictly Come Wrestling.
Wrestling on ice.
Gotta be done. Gotta be done.
Right, no.
Come
Yeah,
wrestle
actually,
with
let's
me.
not go there. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
Wrestle Island instead of Love
Yeah,
Island.
let's do it.
Come wrestle with me on Channel 4.
Wait,
Come
isn't there a? I'm sure there's a promotion called Wrestle Island, isn't there?
The Great British Wrestle Off. We'll have the Great British Wrestle Off.
Yeah. I mean, there's an entire BBC One promotion there somewhere.
Fantastic. This just hearing about all this. I mean, it's making. Obviously, I've played TEW and others, the predecessors before, but from what you've explained and the almost complete and utter entire freedom that players will be able to have, I mean, it's so exciting to hear that you can just do every little minor piece of detail you can have an input in and have, and you can deal with it. It's really exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, like one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to give people that control, but I didn't want to overload them with it. So obviously, you know, one thing that you can do is, by all means, you can micromanage it as much as you want. So for even like when it comes to sort of booking matches, so you can say, okay, so I want I don't know, we'll say I want Dave Mastiff to win over Big Damo. I want it to be a clean victory, and I want it to include a chair shot spot. So you can have it like sort of being like that. I want the intention to be to push this rivalry and to make Dave Mastiff look good and really micromanage it. Or you can go, I want a singles match between Dave Mastiff and Big Damo, figure it out. And the AI will obviously be able to push forward and go, okay, so we know that Dave Mastiff is relentless. We know that Big Damo is a powerhouse. So because of that, we'll do this specific spot. But in the end, Dave Mastiff is going to win because he's got this specific set of skills over Big Damo. Plus currently Dave Mastiff is more over than Big Damo. I don't want to say that in real life.
Oh,
you know, I'm sorry. Look, Damo, I'm sorry, mate. But no, like, so we like what I've been able to try and do is sort of provide people with, you know, an AI that's experienced enough to go. So we know when someone's over. We know when someone is doing well for themselves. So we know that we're going to want them to win because of that. Or, you know, if there's got to be an upset, it's because of this specific reason. And I'm really trying to push forward like a smart AI, just so you can pick up like, even if you've got like 5-10 minutes, go, okay, so I want to make a quick event, 5-10 minutes, let's go, press simulate, and it's all done for you.
Wow,
Amazing.
that's amazing. Yeah, shout out to any potential modders listening in. Get some celebrities and that created to be able to go into the game, because I want to book for my alter ego, Kieran Across, to go and lay out Boris Johnson with my cane and stuff him in a dumpster.
Yes,
that's what I want to be able to do. That's what I want to be able to do.
About it or anything for quite a while. You've mentioned a few times about the early access date and the release date. Can you tell us when that's gonna be?
Yeah. So well, I'll tell you what the plans are. So you can see it on Steam. Currently, we're planning on getting early access out around about, we're looking sort of December to very, very early January for the for early access. A little bit before then for some closed play testing. That is going to probably be sort of trickled out first to Patreon supporters, then to Discord community supporters, and then to the general Steam public. And then obviously, we're looking to then go early access towards the end of the year, very, very early next year, if the absolute latest.
Fantastic!
Can't wait. So very soon then. That's brilliant.
Hopefully, it's a big hope, and you know, I won't lie, like, you know, early access will be, as it says in the tin, it's very early access. You know, it's going to be a case of we're going to have certain parts of that will be, you know, the baseline when we first release into early access. But what I'm looking to do is have, you know, there's going to be a solid system so you can obviously start playing, booking matches, growing that, you know, growing that brand out early on. Hopefully within that first release as well, we'll also be including our online leaderboards. So hopefully, you know, you can already start getting that initial build in place, and then we'll be releasing sort of like the updates to include packs. So like there'll be a development update. So we'll really start to hone in on that, you know, developmental area and that logistics area and, you know, staff management area and so on and so forth. That's the plan.
I'm looking at your Steam page now, and it just.
I've literally. I was just going to say, as you was explaining that, I've literally just added it to my wish list and click follow. So I'm all good to go for when it's available to get. I'm snapping that straight up.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Do you know one of the things that I love about it? Again, looking at it on Steam, is the fact that you've got reputable brands like WrestleTalk featured in there, and you know, anybody else that you want to put in there, you kind of you kind of, you know, you kind of already have in there, which brings it that realism, that realistic view that only are you playing the guys like Dave Mastiff from, you know, who the most common fan would know from NXT UK, and we all know him as a legend in the UK scene, and Big Damo and Evilise, but you've got that brand recognition there of WrestleTalk as well. Brilliant. Really
yeah, definitely. That's one thing that we wanted to do. I mean, the one massive part of main event, you know, this might sound a bit silly coming from a guy who's developing a game and putting a price tag on it, but the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want this to make me stinking rich. I'm not doing this for, like, you know, the payout of it. In fact, the one thing that I'm actually looking to do is currently in talks with some of my team, we're looking to put about 80% of the proceeds of the game back into the industry. So the one thing that we want to do is when this game does come to light and we do start obviously charging people for the game, we want to make it completely clear from the outset that people who are involved in the game, we want to try and give back to them. The promotions that are involved, we want to give back to them, even down to, you know, WrestleTalk or, you know, or this, you know, maybe some other podcasts or media facilities, you know.
I wonder who you're talking about there.
And basically the way we want to do it is that anyone involved in the wrestling industry, we want to give back to. So even down to you know, we've had some people in the community who we've spotted, they're not actually featured in the game, but we've already got plans in mind to, you know, help do things like just small bits like help funding ring crew equipment, and just, you know, being able to, you know, like provide like banners or something, just something just to help a little bit towards the industry that's made this game successful. So if you know, if we can do that in the way of royalties or payouts or something like that, that's something that we want to definitely take on board.
That's just incredible. I mean, full respect to you guys for doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like the idea of me. Sorry, Kieran Cross potentially doing a bit of a swerve and managing Dave Mastiff or something like that. Again, I love some of that. Unleash Dave Mastiff on a promotion. I love that.
Exactly.
When the game comes out, you can mod it and make that a reality. It's not a problem at all.
I might even pair that Big Damo and Dave Mastiff and really unleash that.
God.
An unstoppable tag team right there.
Absolutely.
James, it's been an absolute privilege having you on talking about this game, because it's really amazing to see how passionate you are about it, and that just comes across when you're talking about the product, and it looks absolutely beautiful. It looks amazing. So can't wait to play it. Hopefully by the end of this year, or as you said, the beginning part of 2023, who knows, but fingers crossed it all goes well. I think we've got so much more we could talk to you about, but time is running on. Would you be up for coming back on to have an all-round conversation about wrestling and video games?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. 100%. I could talk about it all day.
Absolutely.
We'll get
And
on
obviously, we'll keep everyone updated. We'll stay in touch with James. We'll keep everyone updated with the latest updates of what's going on. Obviously, head over to Facebook and go on Steam. Main Event Wrestling Manager is available if you want to add to your wish list or follow to be kept updated with everything possibly can, because this is no doubt going to be an absolute winner from what we're hearing and from what we're seeing as well. So, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, James, and thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.